engaging 8,000 acres of land into full production, putting some 5,000 people to work, and earning an estimated 4.2 billion Jamaican dollars by the end of 2015. That, in a nutshell, is the expected outcome from the 9 agro-parks being built out across the island. The aim is to get the agricultural sector producing superior quality goods in high volumes, which will drive the sector towards sustainable growth.
We're concentrating our efforts on this as a flagship, but it's a holistic approach that we are taking towards bringing down that 900-odd million US import bill and upping our export.
The Agro-parks project represents a tripartite partnership involving the Agriculture Ministry, farmer investors and the private sector. Over the course of 3 years, ending 2015, intense farming activity will ensue on these 9 specially designed areas. The parks will form an integrated agricultural chain, connecting farmers, buyers, exporters, post-harvesters, and marketing officers.
This is an exceptionally excellent project, and it comes at the right time to save the farmers.
The agro-parks are focused on planting import substitutes such as grains for animal feed and selected crops for export, such as ginger, pepper and onions. These and the other crops targeted for production on the agro-parks will be planted in St. Thomas, St. Catherine, Clarendon, St. Elizabeth, Manchester, Trelawney and Westmoreland. The lands being used are leased by the government at a concessionary rate to selected farmers who must meet certain criteria. Provisions are also being made for others looking to access the lucrative opportunity.
It is expected that ex-sugar workers who were made redundant, they would also have an opportunity to get their little piece.
Farmers who are selected will be exposed to technical advice and must work in accordance with the contract terms. Roughly 5,000 persons are expected to gain employment from the agro-parks. To get the parks running optimally, the government, with assistance from the European Union and the Inter-American Development Bank, is installing infrastructure such as irrigation, drainage and proper road access.
And when we reach a certain stage, we will go further to even help with packing houses and help agro-processors who want to come on board to also help them in putting up their agro-processing facilities.
Plans are also in place to install an abattoir to standardize the processing of meat for export. The overall management of the parks is the responsibility of Agro Investment Corporation, AIC, the investment arm of the Agriculture Ministry. The agency assigns park managers and dedicated extension specialists to each park.
We also have the responsibility to coordinate with other government agencies for the proper execution of the parks.
Of the 9 agro-parks, 3 are currently in operation: Plantain Garden River in St. Thomas, Amity Hall in St. Catherine, and Ebony Park in Clarendon. 120 acres of land have been reserved for Plantain Garden River, of which approximately 50 acres are now under production by 100 farmers. Over in St. Catherine, the production of sorghum is the main activity at Amity Hall, where crops have already been planted on 500 acres. This should increase to 1,500 acres by the end of 2013. Drains have already been cleared and an irrigation system installed to make way for the planting of onion, assorted vegetable and hay. The laying of accessible roads to the 2,000 acres of land allotted to the Amity Hall Park is in its final stage. Meanwhile, the featured crops for Ebony Park in Clarendon, onion, pepper, vegetables and tuber. 200 acres are now in production, with an additional 600 acres by the end of 2013. A trial is also underway at Ebony Park for a mechanized way of growing the mini-set yam. One of the aims is to grow a yam size that is acceptable for export and does not require cutting and treating. The remainder 1,200 acres is expected to be in full operation by 2014. The other 6 agro-parks are expected to come on stream by 2014, and preparations are on in earnest to meet this deadline.
What we envisage is that over the next 3 years, Out of these agri-parks, we will be looking at import substitution to the tune of about 80 million US dollars.
And exports are expected to increase by 50 million US dollars over the same period. Already, some $1 billion in earnings has been projected from activities within the 2013-2014 fiscal year from parks that are in commission. Going forward, the agri-parks are expected to include other areas of production such as fruit trees, including ackee and tamarind. Other undertakings include sorrel, callaloo, and small ruminants such as sheep and goat. It is the hope of the government that the agri-parks model will be replicated among private farmers.
These agri-parks, we want to make them models because it just doesn't have to be a situation where the government is making these things happen.
Agro-parks, modernizing Jamaica's agricultural sector, contributing to reducing the island's almost $1 billion US food import bill while increasing exports and creating jobs.